Here are 3 true scary stories from Reddit. The links to the stories are in the description below. Enjoy. Number 1. I worked in fast food for a good deal of time during high school. Several terrifying things happened during this time as I worked at a store right off of a street well known for drug dealing. I usually closed, which was around midnight. Keep in mind, I'm a 5-foot girl about 130 pounds. Yes, chubby, I know. 18 years old and pretty defenseless considering I was working. The back window where one would pay is called the hole, and I was stationed there one night at about 10:30. From my spot in the hole, I had a view of the drive-thru monitor and saw a big, rusty, white truck with a windowless topper pull up. The man belted out his order in a gruff voice and drove off screen to pull up to the window. I was usually pretty decent at getting a feel for what people were going to be like when they ordered, and based on the guy's voice and attitude, I was already a bit defensive in case he got confrontational with me. His truck pulled up to the hole and I opened the window to take his money. He was a 50-something, dirty-looking guy with short and stringy hair and really piercing gray eyes. He handed me the cash silently and watched me intently as I made his change. When I turned around to hand it to him, he finally spoke. "You are really beautiful, you know that?" Flustered, I tried to deflect his words. "Oh yeah, my boyfriend tells me that all the time." He scoffed. "How old is your boyfriend, sweetheart? 20? Well, when you're looking for a real man who's experienced, well, I'm right in town for you to come find me. My name's John." He then drove off. I reported the incident to my manager, who told me, more or less, "Well, that's creepy, but since he's a customer, there's really nothing we can do." He returned at least 5 times in the next 3 weeks at the same time of night, each time not saying anything, just staring at me with those gray eyes of his. I never initiated conversation and panicked a little every time he drove up. Eventually, he stopped coming for a while. In the meantime, my boyfriend and I got engaged, and naturally, I had begun wearing a ring. About a week before I quit the job, the guy pulled up to the window again. "Well, hi there, sweetheart. Haven't seen you in a while. I missed you." He looked down at the diamond on my finger that I had subconsciously hung out the window. His face very quickly flashed through several obvious emotions: disbelief, jealousy, rage, and finally, he chuckled to himself and drove off without a word. I quit right after that and haven't seen him or his truck around town since. So, creepy drive-thru guy? Here's to hoping we never meet again. Number 2. When I was 19, my best friend and I got our first apartment in a seemingly safe neighborhood. Our apartment is on the first floor, and we would always sit out on the front patio, smoking cigarettes and chatting. We're both night owls, so many nights we would be outside at 1 or 2 in the morning when the rest of the neighbors were asleep. Sometimes we would see this older man, maybe in his 50s or 60s, walk by, and never thought anything of it. I figured he was a night owl like we were, and that he probably just took late night walks to relax and clear his mind. Unfortunately, I was wrong. Late one night, around 2 a.m., a friend comes over and we decide to sit outside my apartment building and smoke in his car. We spend the time chatting and laughing. Suddenly, I see the older man walk by my apartment. He walks up the pathway to our unit and just stands in the entrance for a couple of minutes. He then continues his walk around the apartment complex. I already had a bad feeling about it, so my friend and I sit and wait to see if he appears again. Surely enough, he took a lap around my building and comes to a stop at my unit again. My roommate is inside working on homework, and I begin to grow nervous that he's planning something. He repeats this process a couple more times. Our unit had a sliding glass door right in front. He walks right up to the door and begins trying to peek through the blinds and crane his head in closer to listen. My friend in the car suddenly pulls out a baseball bat, flips on his headlights, and opens the car door, screaming, "What the fuck do you think you're doing?" The man, completely unaware that he was being watched the entire time, replies, "This is my girlfriend's house." then bolts to his car, speeding off before I could make out a license plate number. Mind you, this man is in his 50s or 60s, and my roommate and I are both 19-year-old sophomores in college. I immediately called the police, filed a report, and went to sleep with every light on in the house. It's safe to say that paranoia took over for a while, and I always felt like I was being watched after that. The man was never found. I had a feeling he lived in the apartment complex right next to mine. A few weeks later, I was getting home late from work around 11 p.m., and I see him walking toward my apartment. We were both about equal distance from my front door. I scream, "Get the fuck out of here!" which immediately causes him to run off into the dark. I called and filed a second police report, but it did nothing. I've since moved and haven't seen any sign of the man. It just terrifies me to think what he might have been planning to do, and what he might have done if I never caught him creeping around. Even worse, I looked up all the sex offenders within a 5-mile radius of my apartment, and the man who looks eerily similar to this guy was living only a couple miles away. So, creepy late-night apartment stalker? Let's not meet. Ever. Number 3. So, before I get into the story, here's some background. I'm 17 years old and pretty big. I'm 6 foot and weigh about 250 pounds. My friend, we'll call him John, is about the same size, but a little lighter and slightly shorter. That's why I thought this story was a whole lot creepier. We live in a medium-sized town in southern Minnesota with a very mild crime rate, mostly just petty thefts and little crimes and such. Now this happened about a month ago. I got off work and got picked up by my friend Eli, because I didn't have a car at the time. We were hanging out, driving around, doing things typical teens do. And my other friend John called and wanted to hang out, so we picked him up and did our thing for a few hours. It's getting to be about 1 a.m. when Eli's girlfriend called and asked to get picked up from work. So John and I, not wanting to be annoying, said, "Hey, go pick her up and we'll wait at the elementary school." The school was right by where we already were, so Eli agreed and we got out. He said it shouldn't be more than an hour, then drove off. John and I made our way to the school, being we were only about a block away. And as Eli drove off, a van drove by. The van slowed down and the man driving yelled something at us. The van was as stereotypical as one could imagine of what a rapist's van would look like. Not hearing what he said, we brushed it off as some guy being an asshole. We were nearing one of the gate entrances of the tennis courts by the school when the guy turned down the street and parked next to the opposite entrance. John and I hadn't seen him, and we continued on through the tennis courts. By the time we saw the van parked on the opposite side, it was turned off and empty. After about 30 to 40 seconds of looking around, I saw the silhouette of a man sprinting alongside the edge toward the entrance of the tennis courts. This caught me off guard because the man was smaller than both me and John. I thought, he has to be crazy. There is no way he could take both of us. But as he approached the gate to the tennis court, light from the street lamp shone down on him, and I saw that he was holding a buck knife. He was quickly closing in on the gate, and thankfully John slammed it closed, giving us enough of a head start towards the other gate on the opposite side of the tennis court. John and I are not very fast due to our size, and I was very sure neither of us could outrun the man. After we made it to the other entrance, we shut the gate and sprinted to the well-lit playground area by the semi-busy road. I called 911 and the police were there within 5 minutes, but the man and the van were gone. To my knowledge, they have yet to find him. So to the man who chased us, let's not meet. For your safety, not mine. Because you just might not have a knife next time. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time.